All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody, to the first in a series of live hangouts, live press row hangouts. I am Rich Grisham. It has been almost 24 hours since the launch of MLB 15, the show, and I am here with, well, between the four of us, the three people on this panel, not named Rich Grisham, have probably collectively played more of the show than any three other people on the planet. So I'm excited. Up first, we have from Pasta Padre, Mr. Brian Weedi. Brian, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks. I'm excited. We've got a new game we mentioned in the last hangout, or it had been like 6 months since a sports game had come out. So I'm excited for that. Plus, I'm excited for the start of the baseball season right around the corner here. And I'll be in Vegas for the first couple days of the baseball season, so that's where my interest is going to lie. But yeah, so I'm excited just to get to talk about it all tonight and tomorrow night, and however much more we end up doing.
That's right. Up next, we have a Yankee fan from Polygon, Mr. Sumit Sarkar. Sumit, welcome. Good to see you.
It's good to be back on the press row hangout. I know it's been a long time, but baseball is my favorite sport. The Yankees are my favorite team in all of sports, so I'm here to talk. I'm here to talk MLB 15, the show.
Good stuff. And of course, from that sports gamer, the #1 MLB 15, the show live streamer in the world, Mr. TJ Larman. TJ, welcome.
Rich, I don't know how accurate that is, but I did beat my brother-in-law playing the Mets today online, just because I don't like your Mets, and I made them feel real bad. And I hit a home run with A-Rod last night, so we're back.
So you are officially evil. All right, good to know. All right,
I did the same thing. I felt just as dirty.
Everybody, I am Rich Grisham. Very excited. As I mentioned, it's been 24 hours since the worldwide launch of MLB 15, the show, or at least North American. I say worldwide like I know that. I think it's worldwide, but it's definitely North America. Oh, it's not?
I believe Europe gets it tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Yeah. 24 hours. That means that we have had 24 hours to play, to check it out, to give some initial impressions. So let's just start with you, TJ Larman. Last night, as the clock struck midnight, you live streamed your potential ability to jump in and play the show. If you remember, last year's digital launch of MLB The Show was not exactly without issue. How did it go this time?
This time went super smooth. I did the preload, so at midnight I hit X, and the game loaded in, though only the standard version of the game, even though I preloaded the 10th anniversary edition. I guess we had to wait till later in the day for that to unlock. But yeah, with the preload, everything was ready to go. I was able to hop in and just start playing. None of this needing, when you do the disc install, you do the first thing where you put it in, and then it has the loading bar, and it takes forever. People have been saying that takes literally forever. So yeah, digital future, do the preload, and that worked super well for me.
Brian Weedi, did you also do the digital preload? And if so, how did that go for you?
Yeah, I sure did, and it was smooth, just like TJ said. It downloaded and installed on Sunday, so I didn't have anything like that to worry about. The one thing we did come across, and I did a video for YouTube today on this, is that the anniversary edition stuff that we were supposed to get with it just didn't show up. We had to go into the dashboard, back to the PlayStation Store, act like you're trying to buy it again, and then you go back to the game and it's suddenly there. So that was really the only issue that arose out of it. Having the preload this year definitely made a big difference, and I even got comments on my stream like, "How do you have the game already? It's out," and we're able to play it. And then yeah, like TJ said, the people who are stuck in basically a limited demo for hours upon hours. I mean, it was the case on NBA 2K15 also. And the thing is, there's really no notification for those people that the game is still installing, and that's why they're stuck in there. And so people get frustrated. It's been 4 hours installing or whatever, because these games are massive, and there's nothing telling them that's why it's happening. So I got a ton of people asking about that today, and but otherwise it was a much smoother launch than last year.
Sumit, are you a digital guy for MLB 15 the show, or are you a disc guy? And if either way, how was your initial experience loading it up and getting it running?
Well, I did go digital, not by choice. That was just the situation. I'm reviewing it for Polygon, so Sony actually sent out download codes a little bit after midnight, so unfortunately I could not do the preload, which was really annoying because I get really slow download speeds from PSN, as I'm sure many people listening to this and watching this do. It's a pretty common problem. I have Verizon Fios here, 50/50, so that isn't an issue with like Xbox One downloads or stuff on my laptop. But yeah, so I started the download at like maybe 12:20 a.m. and there's like an initial like 4 gig download, which I guess is just the part that allows you to play that sort of demo experience, and then there was like a 500 megabyte day one patch or something, and then the rest of it was like 33 gigs or something that I had to download. I went to bed and I started working. I got up in the morning, started working. The download didn't finish until shortly before 10 a.m. So 9.5 hours to download a total of like 37.5 gigs. I did the math, and that's something like an average download speed of like 1.12 megabytes per second, which is not great, and certainly not what I get with Fios for doing really anything else. But because it all downloaded, I didn't have the experience of the demo, which I saw some other people had. Andrew Reiner, executive editor at Game Informer, was saying, hey, like, what's the deal? I don't want to keep playing as the San Francisco Giants. And then like he tweeted a photo of like, oh, there actually is like a little green installation bar icon above the score in the top left corner of the screen. But that's pretty subtle, and it's really the only indication that something's going on.
So I am an old man, and I went out today to the GameStop, and I traded in a bunch of games that I was no longer playing, and I picked up my physical copy of MLB 15 The Show. I got home from work this afternoon. I knew I had a bunch of stuff to do as soon as I got home with the family. So I then ran upstairs, turned on my PS4. It was still in suspend mode. I had an NBA 2K15 game going on, so I had to sadly put an end to that. Plopped in the disc. It started. Well, actually, no. When I first put it in, I had to delete several games because there was not, of course, room for the installation of the show. Deleted 4 or 5 games, and then it installed. I left the room. It started installing. I came back, and I don't know, about 15, 20 minutes, the game was fully installed and ready to go. So I had no real issues. I mean, obviously, if I had wanted to play it at that moment, I would have been a little frustrated. But 15 minutes for me with the physical copy, I had no problem with. So that I thought was nice. All right, Brian, what's the first thing you did once you got the game up and running? What'd you do, and how was your initial hour or two with MLB 15 The Show?
Yeah, so I played. I was going to stream for 2 hours. Ended up being 3.5 hours. The first thing I wanted to do was try out the save migration. I wanted to bring my MLB 14 saves into 15. To, number one, make sure it worked. Number two, it didn't screw up my player in Road to the Show or the status of the franchise. Because there have been features, not to this scale necessarily, but different features that come out and they don't work on day one. So that was the first thing I did, is I imported those saves, and then that went smoothly, very simple. Used the saves right off the hard drive. It wasn't necessary to pull in from the cloud. I thought it was going to be, but I guess that's only for PS3 or Vita to bring up to PS4. But I played Road to the Show a couple games. My guy is in the majors. He's on the Indians, and he's a middle reliever now. He was a closer in the minors. He'll be a closer one day. And then I went around and just kind of tinkered with everything to just a little bit. Franchise, Diamond Dynasty. I did an online home run derby, which isn't really online. It's just like in golf, how you see the shot arcs. You're just seeing the ball arc as it flies out. So
that sounds pretty cool, though, right? Because then you don't have to wait around for anybody. You just jump in and play, right? And it actually sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, it works well. I mean, it's been in there for 2 years. They've had it. So it was, that went smoothly, and I didn't want to try online because I was streaming at the time. But that's essentially what I got through last night, and then I played a bunch more today.
Now, I watched a little bit of your stream before I went to bed. You were interacting with a bunch of people, a lot of people watching you, asking you a bunch of questions. What was the general consensus of the folks that were watching you, and what they thought, and you know, your commentary with them?
The most common things I heard were, on the negative side, it was, this commentary is stale, it's old, we're tired of it. I can't believe it's the exact same stuff. And then that the game didn't really look any better. Now, of course, a lot of that has to do with the stream. You're not getting full quality in a stream, which is why I posted a couple of videos that are in 1080p, 60 frames a second on YouTube. That'll show you a little more of the differences in lighting and stuff like that. But mostly, you know, people thought the game looked really smooth. It controlled. You could tell I was controlling it really well. Batting is still a major challenge to put up any runs. I mean, that hasn't changed, at least initially. But otherwise, I mean, I mentioned a few of the negatives there, but otherwise it's mostly positives. It's just, again, the show is very predictable. You kind of know what you're going to get. There's not a whole lot that surprises you. So, but people stuck with me for 3.5 hours and seemed to enjoy it and seemed to be excited about the game and that they were going to pick it up the next day or whatever. So it was a fun experience, just like the first day streams tend to be for most games, and mostly positive outside of those couple negatives that I mentioned.
TJ Larman, your first couple hours, you got it up and running. You know, you had your coffee going, you're all set. You're live streaming, you're interacting. Same thing. What'd you do sort of at the start, and what was the commentary and reaction and the sort of the overall feeling of the guys that were watching your stream?
Yeah, like Brian, unlike Brian, as an East Coaster, I only stream for like an hour because people need to go to sleep.
Yeah, some of us have to work.
Well, I took off today, but it's cool.
I said some of us, not all of us.
But yeah, I spent like the first maybe half hour just like flipping through the menus, checking out everything. I also did bringing my franchise, my Road to the Show guys into MLB 15 from 14. All that went pretty smooth. Yeah, my franchise looked good. Everybody was there. No big problems there. Ended up playing a game as the Yankees. Played against the Blue Jays. Screwed up. Went against R.A. Dickey. Guess what? Don't face a knuckleballer the first time you play a baseball game. Kind of a pain in the butt. Hit a home run with A-Rod. That was great. Everybody was excited. What else happened there? Turned a weird double play where my shortstop did a pirouette and then also did another pirouette just for good measure and then threw the guy out at first. That was a little wonky. Ended up going into extra innings and hit a pinch hit game-winning double with Garrett Jones.
Nice.
And I was really tired, and I decided to go to sleep.
And what was the overall reaction of the community to what you were doing? I mean, did people, similar to Brian, a lot of positives, a lot of negatives? What was the interaction like?
Yeah, a lot of positives. Everybody thinks it looks really good. I think it looks pretty much as good as last year, maybe a little bit better. I don't really notice like a huge graphical upgrade from last year. I might want to do some side-by-side images of guys to look.
You should probably not play on that tube TV anymore. You might want to upgrade to an HD TV. That might help.
Hey man, this is a 24-inch Dell also monitor, no lag, so I don't have to worry about swinging 3 days early. But yeah, facing a knuckleballer with directional hitting was a little difficult. I've been using directional hitting since I started playing because new thing. Want to try it out. It feels like the baby step between timing and zone. So I think if you start getting directional hitting down, I think a lot of people are just going to go to zone, since I think it's required in some of the modes, like the Challenge of the Week. I think is only in zone. So yeah, I think directional hitting is out very soon for me. I'm going to go switch back to zone.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. So, Sumit, same sort of question to you. Once you got it up and running, and you're doing a review for Polygon, so you've got sort of a different kind of approach. Like obviously, Brian is going to be doing a lot of articles and stuff and Hangouts. TJ's more of in the live stream, but you got to write a review for Polygon. So, like, how do you approach your first couple hours with the show? Do you just get in and play, and then you figure it out later, or like, what's your approach to your initial couple hours playing this game?
Yeah, first thing I do every year is just a basic exhibition game. So I just jumped into, I guess I forget whatever they call like playing live against the day's baseball games. So I did the Yankees Blue Jays opening day game, which is I guess coming up April 5th. I think, or maybe the 6th. Yeah, the 6th. So beat the tar out of them. No, I mean it was like 6-2 or something, I think was the final score. I did also hit a home run with A-Rod. This could be a placebo effect thing, but I swear that the cheers were a little muted when he came to the plate for the first time.
I can see that.
And then in that first at bat, I hit a home run, and then of course, every time afterward, there's a fan who screamed out, "I love you, A-Rod." So
that was actually you doing that. Admit it.
Yes. But yeah, so I did that, and then next thing I did is my favorite mode, the only mode I play after review, Road to the Show, as everyone knows. Like Brian, I wanted to test out the year-to-year saves. It was seamless. I already had a couple of Road to the Shows from PS4 for MLB 14. So I actually started a little earlier. I went with the second Road to the Show guy that I had created earlier, and he was still on hadn't even started basically his career. I just sort of had him created, and I was like, I kind of want to see what where that goes, and yeah, I mean it really is. I'm just sort of playing Road to the Show, and it's the same as it was last year in terms of the experience. It is cool that you now have the additional features of the licensed equipment. So I've got like Rawlings batting gloves or something on him, and was able to just, like I said, pick up right where I left off, just destroy people. I think this wasn't my most recent game, but again, Double-A Trenton Thunder, so not really facing stiff competition.
My favorite team, Trenton Thunder, the local guys. Love those guys.
Yeah. So what did I do? Sumit Sarkar, pitcher number 21, complete game, 1-hit shutout, 1 walk. Actually, I was a hit by pitch, and 17 strikeouts. So I might need to turn up the difficulty on the pitch.
Yeah, I can see that. My initial experience was kind of similar to what you said, Sumit. I basically, before I wanted to jump into anything, I just said, let me play an exhibition game, full 9-inning game. I mean, I have a feeling that that where I'm going to go spend the bulk of my time is going to be in a franchise and doing some, player lock through the 5-6 innings and then picking it up for the rest. But played my first game was a 9-inning game. It was an exhibition game set in April at 7 p.m. at Citi Field. The Mets versus the Padres. Wanted to play a team that I know the Padres are supposed to be pretty good, but they're not clearly like the class of the National League. Started Matt Harvey versus Shields, and for the first few innings it was 0-0. Both Harvey and Shields were trading ground balls and strikeouts, but midway through the game I started to I actually at one point strung together 3 straight hits, which for me is ridiculous. Now I was playing on dynamic difficulty, or at least I believe I was playing on dynamic difficulty, because I think you guys know me pretty well. I like to just get in and play the game. Like some people like to turn the game on and tinker and look at settings and do all this stuff, and I'm just like, let's go. That's sort of my approach. And I don't know. There's a lot of things that I don't know. I don't know. Does because it recognized, like I saw it did for you, TJ, when you first loaded up, it recognized that you had MLB 14, so it gave you a little something or other. Does it import the settings you had for MLB 14? Does it use those? Because it sure seemed like the pitching, the fielding, and the difficulty were exactly what I had been playing on last year.
Yeah, I saw for me, my dynamic difficulty did come over.
Okay.
So I had like Hall of Fame batting and All-Star pitching or something. But then I noticed a lot of people in the chat said that their stuff didn't come over.
Okay.
So I don't know what that was all about.
So, it sure felt like they came over, and so it's set to dynamic difficulty. But I had some success. I actually wound up winning the game. Matt Harvey went 6 innings, gave up I think a run, a couple hits, struck out 4, not a lot. Wound up giving up a run late in the 9th. I think the final score was 6-2, and I was, thoroughly happy. I mean, let's face it. I don't think that there is a better looking sports game than MLB 15 The Show on the PlayStation 4. It looks beautiful, and I mean, I haven't done a side-to-side with last year's to this year's. I did play MLB 14 the show as recently as 2 weeks ago. I can't tell you specifically. Like, I hear, there's new dynamic lighting and there's new shadows and this and that. But I put this game on and it looks fabulous. City Field, it was 7 o'clock. The sun was going down. It looked great. A lot of the players, I mean, you look at the players, yep, that's definitely Shields. That's definitely Harvey. That's definitely Lucas Duda. The guys look great. The dirt in the infield had just been watered down, but there were a couple of spots where it wasn't. The outfield grass, the cutting looked fantastic. The new fields, the new fences that were brought in, you could tell look great. The crowd, wow, how great is the crowd? It looks spectacular. It is definitely better than MLB 14, which was a good crowd. So I had more fun. I just kind of chuckled. I'm like, man, me from 5 years ago, much less 10 years ago, had I seen this, I would have been just, ecstatic. On the flip side, what's interesting is the better these games look, the more the little weird stuff stands out. And it's going to be a real challenge as we continue to move on with the graphical fidelity, especially of a game that's trying to replicate real life. Like Bloodborne, looks amazing, but it's a different kind of a thing, whereas MLB The Show looks amazing, but it's trying to be real life. So, we'll definitely see more of these kind of things happening. But, I mean, I am just really delighted with my initial impressions of how this game looks and the presentation. So, Brian, give me your thoughts on the overall presentation, the graphics, the sound, and what you think about how the game looks coming out of the gate.
Yeah, there's some subtle stuff that they improved on presentation-wise, and then I went into playoff or postseason mode, as it's called, and the crowd had the towels back. They didn't have them last year, which really hurt the atmosphere for the playoff games. So that's cool. They got that. Things seem ramped up more in the postseason mode. And then there are just things like certain cutaways during the games and stuff that look a little more natural. It's still not perfect. There's some things that can definitely be improved upon. And then if we want to get into commentary again, of course, that's one of the main weaknesses with the game. But I think, presentation-wise, it's a lot easier. If you hadn't been playing the show every year, I think you look at it and say that's it's fantastic. But
yes.
But having playing it every year, some of the stuff starts to look, again, just like the commentary, it starts to feel a little old. Things stand out that don't look like they came up from a broadcast, or you see the same animations in the same situations. So it's just a matter of perspective on the game and how much experience you have with it. But overall, I think it's the presentation is solid, if not it may not be spectacular, but it's solid.
One of the other things that I sort of noticed is that whatever the default presentation, I think it's set to television or something, but it's different than it was last year on the default. Like when I'm hitting and I hit the ball, it doesn't automatically follow the ball. It sort of stays with my guy, and then it'll sort of pan over. I'm not sure whether I love that or not, but it's not how I had it set last year, and I just noticed that it seems to be even more prevalent, I guess, or it stands out a little bit more to me. But TJ, some other thoughts on just overall presentation, look, feel, sound, your initial impressions looking at it.
Yeah, just going through some of the Yankees, looks like they cleaned up a lot of the batting stances and stuff. A-Rod's looks great, obviously, best player in baseball.
Here we go.
I saw a little bit of the emotion stuff. I had a pitcher come in for an inning of relief, got a strikeout, and was like, yeah! So that was pretty cool. But yeah, the crowd looks great. It's every year it gets better it's not, here's this dude in a hoodie, and here he is 2 rows back and a seat over wearing the same hoodie, same guy, completely.
Making the same motion. They're both both going like this,
Yeah.
Walking up and down the stairs over and over.
Yeah, this is much better than years past. Though I did have one guy's leg come through the wall when he was walking behind home plate. That was a little funny, but But yeah, I think it's just really the thing that jumped out and everybody loved in the stream because it's the stupidest thing ever. The shin guards on the catchers and the padding on the batters actually wraps around their leg. It doesn't float off 3 inches behind them. Just one of those little stupid things that was one of those little niggling things every year that's like, well, these shin guards can't physically actually be on this guy, so please fix that. And it looks like they finally fixed a bunch of that good little stuff.
DJ, I'm telling you, I was looking at that before anything because you've been talking about that for so long. I'm like, look at that. It looks like it's actually on his body. TJ is going to be delighted.
It's been so frustrating all these years.
10 out of 10 just on that. Sumit Sarkar, your thoughts on sort of, just the initial presentation. What do you think of it? What has either changed or what impresses you or perhaps even might be even a little disappointed with so far?
Yeah, obviously a commentary continues to disappoint. I remember talking to Ramon from Sony a couple months ago, or about 6 weeks ago, at a thing in New York, and they're aware of it. I don't know if they have the resources or the, in terms of being able to do like an entire new commentary team or just the sort of manpower at the studio to work on that in addition to everything else. All the time, but I think that they are attempting to lay the groundwork for the future. I was hearing some new stuff, or at least some more specific stuff. I felt in terms of the broadcasters commenting on previous at bats, and I was playing Road to the Show, and referencing like my previous start and things like that. So they're doing little stuff, but yeah, there is a lot of, obviously, a ton of repeated lines, and a bit of a high throw at first, or it's rare to see a AA guy with a slider this good, that kind of thing. But that's the audio side. Visually, I agree with you guys. I don't think it's leaps and bounds beyond MLB 14 on PS4. They tightened up a lot of stuff. TJ mentioned the shin guards. One thing I noticed is last year there was some slowdown in the frame rate in terms of cutscenes. Like gameplay was fine, but there would be some stutter occasionally in when they were doing sort of like between pitch cutscenes and things like that. That's pretty much gone this year, so that's nice to see. Yeah, I'm really impressed by the little details as well. Yeah, Owen, my coworker and a friend of the show, on the show, I suppose. I don't know why I said friend of the show. Yeah, you guys know Owen.
Let's face it, he's an enemy of the show.
Never heard of him.
He's out there.
Yeah. If I saw him, I'd kick him in the nuts or something.
Yeah,
that's how I identify.
That guy. So Owen wrote an entire column this past weekend about one new feature is like. Guys won't always sprint down the line if they know that it's a dribbler and they're going to be out by a mile, right? That's something that I noticed immediately this year. So it's just those little sort of elements of bringing in the way people really play baseball that make the difference here.
A couple other little things that sort of stood out to me. One of the things that I like is and again, I'm using the same pitching, the 3-tap Tiger Woods pitching meter that I sort of always gravitate to, but they have the red line that sort of shows the arc of the pitch. I believe that's new. I mean, I played 150 hours of MLB The Show last year and didn't see that. I like that. Again, I don't think it's like revolutionary or anything, but I definitely like that. TJ, anything sort of subtle or new that you have noticed from the? Well, actually, no. Let me ask you this. So you mentioned directional hitting. I believe that directional hitting is when the pitch is coming in, you sort of move to the right or to the left to try to influence in it. And at one point in my first game, I had a guy on first with nobody out, and I had a right-handed hitter, and I wanted to hit it into right field to try to make sure that if I got hit, I would move the hitter from first base to third. So I pressed to the right, and I got a good pitch, and I swung, and I actually hit a base hit to right field, and I moved him over. I believe that's how directional hitting is supposed to work, TJ. Do I have that right?
That's how it's supposed to happen.
So what do you do if you're holding it up or holding it down? What direction are you trying to hit a fly ball or ground?
Yeah,
It's like
I think you're trying to influence fly ball
confused.
and ground ball.
Because when I held it up, all I did was pop up the 2 times that I did it. I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. TJ, what am I doing right or wrong there?
Yeah, for stuff over the plate, like just in the middle of the plate, I've just not touched the direction and just left it there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think holding it up is supposed to influence a fly ball, and down is a grounder. So if you want to roll into a double play, definitely hold it down. It's definitely going to help.
Good to know.
Look, I don't need any help grounding into double.
Yeah, I hit into more than 2 tonight already.
I hit into so many double plays that it actually became a good thing for me because the shortstop just started throwing the ball over the first baseman's head. His arm was literally falling off of him. But yeah, that's the way directional hitting is supposed to work. If you watched my Art of Hitting video last year, that's essentially what this is. This is you're looking in a zone, the pitch is there. As long as you have the timing on the swing right, if you're looking in, you're gonna pull it if it's an inside pitch, and that's essentially what you're supposed to be doing. So that's why I think it's like the baby step to zone, because with zone you have a little bit more control over that.
Right. Sumit, you said you have some thoughts on directional hitting as well.
Yeah, I really am a big fan of it. At least, initially, I've only played. Like what have I done? Like I said, I jumped in and rode to the show. I think after that one exhibition game and rode to the show. I'm a pitcher, so I've only done the one game with the hitting. But I don't do zone. I don't like the thing where you have to move the plate coverage indicator to the ball. It's just too much stick manipulation for me. It's too complicated. I already have enough trouble hitting in this game. But timing is what I resort to or have resorted to in the past, and it's felt a little just too easy, right? It's just like, oh, all I have to do is press X at the right time or square if I think I'm gonna get a really fat pitch, right? So what I really like about directional is, not just the idea that you can influence where you want the hit to go. That's a good feature, and it's certainly useful in terms of like, oh, I'm gonna try to send a fly ball to get a sac fly or whatever. What I really like about directional hitting is the camera shift that comes along with it. So if you're hitting and you hold in a direction with the left stick, before the pitch comes, or as the pitch comes, let's say, oh, you want to try to, you're a righty and you want to take it to the opposite field, so you hold right. Maybe you're hoping for a pitch that's on the outside part of the plate, right? The camera, it actually moves to the right when you do that, and then you press X and you try to get that hit. What I've noticed, at least again in my limited experience, is that subtle, that slight camera shift helps me to get a better read on the pitch location. So I felt like I was better able to discern whether a pitch was going to be a ball or a strike with that camera shift, and also again where that also see where that pitch was coming in if it was going to be in the strike zone. So
Interesting.
I really enjoy that so far, and that's something that that I think is only available in that type of hitting.
So, Brian, 2 questions for you. Number 1, your thoughts on directional hitting. Have you used it much? Have you used it a lot? Or, what do you think about it?
Yeah, so that's one thing, Rich. But I'll go into directional hitting for you. You can tell me the other thing.
I'll tell you the other thing after you do this.
Yeah, okay. All right. I've been using directional hitting, and for the most part I like it. I like it conceptually. And I think it helps me be more patient at the plate. If I'm holding in, if anything is just not, it used to be the way I would hit anyway, is I'd look for a pitch, and then if I didn't get it, I'd try to hold off. But this, I think, forces me to do that a little more. And so I find that I'm a little more patient at the plate because of it. It's not helping my hitting, though, like I mentioned earlier in the show. I mean, it's I feel like I'm getting a good read on the pitches. I just can't time them. I'm behind the fastballs and I'm in front of the all the off-speed pitches. So I got to get the timing down. I feel like I'm swinging at the right pitches. I'm just not timing them right. So, but otherwise, I like the idea behind directional hitting, and I think it's a little friendlier than some of the other options.
Yeah, I think they changed the default batting camera to be a little bit lower. So you're going to have a better view of the pitch being inside, outside, up, and down, but you're going to have the timing off a little bit. I switched to catcher 3. That gives you a little bit closer up and a little bit of a higher angle to get the timing better.
Okay, maybe I'll try something.
Why did you make that switch, TJ?
Just the same thing Brian was having. I was able to tell inside, outside, but I couldn't judge the speed well, and switching to 3 gave me a little higher view, so I could see the ball coming in depth perceptionally wise better than from side to side. But the only downside of that is now that I'm up a little higher, lower pitches are harder to read. So it's a give and take thing.
So the second question for you, Brian, is dynamic pitch breaks. I don't see anything different. Am I completely missing something? What's that all about?
You're using the Mets, Rich.
As far as it would be hard to identify something that's different, right? And so I was thinking as I was playing that maybe that was why I was getting a better read on the pitches. I just wasn't timing them right, and maybe TJ's right. Maybe it's the perspective I'm batting from, and I need to play around with that a little bit. Because the idea behind those pitch breaks is to give you a better chance to identify what's coming.
Right.
And so I didn't know. I kind of thought it was that. I would not have put the game in not knowing any of the features and thought they did something to the pitch breaks. I wouldn't have ever thought that. I don't think any of us would have thought that. But maybe it's helping. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But my initial thought was that maybe that's benefiting me a little bit at the plate, and I just had to get my timing right. But maybe it's the camera. Maybe I just need to play around with that.
TJ, same question to you. Dynamic pitch breaks, is that something that you have noticed? Would you even know if they had not had a bulleted item called dynamic pitch breaks that will help you read the ball better, that this was even a thing that purportedly exists?
Rich, as by far the best hitter in this game on this panel, obviously I realize the dynamic pitch breaks, even if they didn't put that as a bullet point. But I think it's so slight that it's really hard to pick up if you're not going out of your way to look for it. You'll notice it a little bit more on two-seamers. If the pitcher has a pitch with good break, I think you'll notice it more than just any Joe Random on the Mets. All their pitches are going to look straight, curveballs are going to look normal. But I've noticed it a lot on the two-seamers and sliders, and a little bit on the splitters. But again, depending on, I guess, which batting and camera you're using, you're going to notice it more or less. Like if you use a catcher 2, it's really low. It's like you're looking out of the catcher's eyes, but farther back. You'll see the side-to-side movement a lot more pronounced there than if you're using 1 or 3.
TJ claims to be the best hitter here, but
twice on tonight's episode already. Twice.
I shut him out in our online game. I shut him out. I nearly no-hit him.
In a 4-inning game.
It was a 5-inning game. It was a 5-inning game.
Yeah, whatever.
Just get that straight.
Fake. If it was 7, you would have gotten crushed.
Oh,
and you scored a home run off some lag, so
we will
feel proud.
All right, we will get to the online a little bit because a lot of people want to know about that. Before we get that, though, fielding. My life changed last year when Brian Weedeye gave me a couple of very simple fielding tips, and I went from getting frustrated every time I played the show to really enjoying fielding. And those simple tips were, when the ball is coming to you on the ground, press and hold the base before the ball gets to your glove. Press the button and then let go before it gets there. That changed my MLB 14 The Show life, and it immediately paid dividends today as well. Any interesting fielding stories, things working out well for you, things not working out well for you? Smith Sarkar, what's happening on the field with you and your squad?
Oh boy, did I have a misadventure
with
the fielding in an MLB 15. So one of the changes this year, I'm not sure if it's a bullet point, but the they made it so that when you're fielding like a fly ball, your guy doesn't like, you know how like basically you just had to get over to the baseball icon where the fly ball was going to land, and then your guy would sort of like get magnetized to that spot once you kind of ran over there, and then that was it. All you had to do was just stand there, and then like unless you had the like manual catch option enabled, that's it. You were fine. So they changed it this year to where the positioning is a lot more finicky in the way that like there is no sort of magnetism, or at least if there is magnetism, it's much less pronounced. And so this happened to me where I was playing the Blue Jays in that game, and Jose Reyes, former New York Met, hit this towering fly ball pretty shallow into right field. It was kind of near the foul, down the foul line, and stadium, there's not much foul territory. It's kind of like the foul line, and then there's the wall right there. And so what happened was I got over there with Carlos Beltran, but I like must have overshot it a little bit, or I was trying to get in the spot, and there was the wall there, and I didn't, and because it was so high, basically by the time the ball fell, Reyes was already around second base, and he had it inside the park home run with like a shallow fly ball to right field. So that's something that I'm gonna have to really get used to more and play around with, just to sort of see what the tolerances are on that. But that's something definitely to be aware of, and I think that it might cause some errors for players this year.
One of my biggest problems with the show last year was I would sometimes have an outfielder look like he was perfectly positioned under a fly ball, and then he would screw it up, and it wasn't occasional, it was regular, and it happened a lot in our online franchise. And in the games I've played so far, I have not had that. It's actually felt better. So it's funny to me. You and I have had basically polar experiences so far, obviously, in the games that we played. Brian, anything interesting happened to you, mishaps, or perhaps stellar play in the field, things that made you cringe, or kind of say, wow, that was awesome?
Yeah, I had a couple of those situations in the outfield too, but the one that really got me, and I tweeted about it, was that hold on, dogs! I got two dogs in my lap.
A lot going on at the Shea Pasta Padre.
Yeah, they're making things difficult on me. Hitting is difficult enough, but then I started a game. The first batter for me. Okay, I swing and miss, strike one. I swing and miss at a ball in the dirt, strike two. The catcher throws to first, I'm out.
That is quick counts for you right there.
That wasn't a quick count game.
No, I know.
That's the thing. So, yeah, it was a two-strike. He struck me out on two pitches. So that was kind of funny and depressing. I needed that extra one. But, yeah, otherwise, one of the things that stood out to me is just the smoothness of the game, especially when you're controlling a fielder or something, that there's no frame rate hiccups. You really do feel in control of those players as opposed to last year. Until you get to the little circle where it kind of slows you down and you have to make precise movements, or your guy, in one case I remember my guy just wouldn't move. He just stopped like outside of it and didn't move in. So, but otherwise, it's been pretty consistent.
TJ, any adventures in the field, positive or negative?
I've seen some fun, wonky stuff. Nick Markakis dropped a couple fly balls in right. That was great. Some center fielder took a fly ball to the ribs. That was pretty funny. I watched a cutoff man throw the ball into the shortstop's butt. That was also great. There was a play, Daniel Murphy. Here's the credit to Daniel Murphy, because this is the amazing play I saw. There's a fly ball to right. They threw it into Daniel Murphy. He caught it through the wrong side of the web, and I thought that was amazing. And I had a situation where I had a runner on first. I hit a ground ball down the first base line. I think there was one out. So my assumption here is the first baseman is going to pick up the ball, step on first, throw it to second. Instead, what the guy did was he picked up the ball, walked around first base, and then went and kind of talked to the umpire for a little bit while my guy made it to first base safe. So that was fun.
I haven't seen any of that, like, kind of weird sort of glitchy behavior. That's
Yeah.
interesting. But
I've had a couple drop fly balls in the outfield, which has been weird.
Yeah.
But second base shortstop interaction has been really, really good. I had a double play where Brandon Phillips was going up the middle, caught it with his glove, backhanded it behind his back to turn a double play. That was pretty cool. I've seen a lot more second basemen and shortstops only using their glove, like to throw balls rather than switching to their hands to save time. So that's been pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Smit. Were you about to say something?
Oh no, I mean this is just a random cool thing that I remember just now, like not a fielding thing, but actually that very first game against the Blue Jays that I played with the Yankees, I think this was like maybe the first. I was leading off with Brett Gardner, and was legging out, a grounder that was deep in the hole at short, and they actually challenged it, or they called him out, and they gave me the opportunity to challenge the call as Girardi. And there's a little info box in the top left corner. It says, oh, if you have one challenge before the 7th inning, and if you win it, you got another challenge. And the thing is, like, I was like, oh wait, if I go into the replay, will it nullify my ability to challenge? Because I think that's the way it works in Madden, right? It's like if you look at the replay, you can't challenge the play. So I just sort of wanted to see what would happen, and because it gives you I think 15 or 20 seconds or something to actually, it's like press X to challenge or press square to not challenge or something, and so I waited, and it actually showed a replay just in the game, it just played a replay as it normally would, and I was like, oh, it's a bang bang play, I don't know, let me hold off on my challenge, and then I declined, and then I looked at the replay and the actual replay thing, and he was safe, so I should have challenged, but yeah, so that's something that's obviously that I don't think they had last year, so that was pretty cool to see that in my very first game.
I've really enjoyed fielding so far in what I've played. I pulled off a couple of really nice double plays. I've had a couple of random errors. Like at one point, Danny Murphy had the ball hit to him, and he had his glove up off the dirt a little bit, and the ball looked like it took a little bit of a bad hop and got underneath him, went right through him. At one point, when I was actually, when it was, I think, the 4th inning of the second game, and I hadn't gotten a hit yet, and Lucas Duda was running to first base, hit a ground ball to the shortstop. The shortstop threw it 5 feet over the first baseman's head, and then the next guy, Michael Kadire, hit a home run, which was a whole lot of fun. So a couple of weird random things like that. Something that I have really liked so far are the quick menus. For years, MLB The Show was very bad about giving you the ability to look at who's coming to the plate and going to the bullpen and stuff without hitting pause and getting out of the game. Last year it got better. This year it's even better. I don't know if you guys have done much with the D-pad menu options, but you can immediately see who's coming up next and whether they're a lefty or righty or a switch hitter. You could do that last year, but it's a little better. You can get to the bullpen really quickly. Again, these were things that were there last year, but it's a little bit better, a little bit faster, a little bit cleaner. The overall menus, where you get the pitch feedback being right over the center of the plate, I like better than being over on the left. There's just a lot of subtleties with the default presentation in the menus on how you do things. I really like that they have taken the time to make some of those tweaks. To me, they make it better. I really like, especially being able to see, okay, well, it's the 6th inning, my guy's getting a little tired, I'm going to warm up a couple guys in the bullpen, just one click tap and I can see lefty, righty, I can get that information. The only thing I wish that they would add to the little info boxes for each player is what position they are, because I know that, Shields or Kershaw or Hamels are pitchers, but I don't know who the the 7th, 8th, and 9th hitters are a lot for these teams. Once you get past the starters, and sometimes I don't know. Well, is that 2nd or 3rd guy coming up the pitcher or not? So I really wish they would say what position he is. So, but again, that's just, it's a subtle thing, but I really like those menus.
Rich, you're looking in the wrong spot, because when you pull up that menu, if you look up, it shows the 2 pitchers. You'll see their names.
You mean who's coming up? When I'm pitching, who's coming up? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, when you hit up
Right. Then it shows the next three guys coming up on the bottom of the screen.
Above that, where the score and stuff is,
Yeah.
it pulls down a thing with the two current pitchers, how much they've thrown, and stuff like that.
Okay, got
But
it.
yeah,
Cool.
on top of that, I'd also like to say I like the much cleaner like batting interface specifically,
Yes.
where you don't have to see all the pitchers' pitches, which that was a nice to have before, so you know what they have.
Yeah.
But I think having taken that away, I think it's much cleaner to look at when you can still just hit R2 and see what the pitches are. But
But one thing I noticed, so correct me if I'm wrong, but the pitch call-out info no longer gives you the speed, right? Like I feel like it doesn't give you the miles per hour anymore, which was kind of a little really super minor thing that I noticed. But yeah, I really do like the hitting interface. I also like the menu interface this year. I mean, there's still like it's really hard to design like good menus in a sports game.
Yes.
I
Yes, it
acknowledge
is.
that. Especially when you are spending a lot of time, or when you're going to be spending a lot of time in those menus. But yeah, I mean the tiles are fine with that stuff this year, I think.
Okay, a couple more things, and again, this is the first of several of these, so we're going to get much more into a lot of other aspects of the show, and we'll even revisit some more of these after we've had another day to play them. Brian, let's talk a little bit about equipment. What has that meant to you so far? What have you experimented with? What have you liked? What have you not liked? So, what are your initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, I took some time today to go through and open the bonus packs I got with the Anniversary Edition and look at the equipment and the sponsorships and the players you can buy for Diamond Dynasty. And the equipment, a lot of it makes sense. Obviously, we got licensed equipment now and stuff, but they'll give you boosts to your Road to the Show or Diamond Dynasty player based on whatever they designate for each item. But there's a bunch of stuff also that is not related to necessarily equipment and falls under equipment. But there's things like chewing gum, which improves certain ratings for you. Candlelight, I don't get that one. Candlelight.
I know why.
Why?
Watch the movie 8 Men Out.
Is that? Okay.
It improves your contact hitting, and in the movie there's a scene, I believe Shoeless Joe Jackson is in a train car sitting there with a candle to strengthen one of his eyes.
Okay.
By the way,
his back eye. Yeah.
8 Men Out is one of my all-time favorite movies.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time since I've seen that. So I guess a lot of these are probably movie references, like having a sleeping companion. Would that be Bull Durham?
Probably.
Makes sense.
And
What was
there's
the
like
one-
a hat for your bat, right? That's
Yeah, that's Major League. Yeah.
And there was the one with it says "Feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme." The Cool Runnings call out in
That's from Willie Mays Hayes, right? Oh no, Cool Runnings. Okay.
Yeah.
Then there's there's stuff like a 4-leaf clover. You got a good night's sleep. Stuff like the sunflower seeds. Just a bunch of really, it seems random anyway, stuff, and then some stuff that sounded sexual to me in nature, like the sleeping companion, followed by it was like a gold thong or something like that.
Well, it was flippers. That's what that's what you call it.
And there was like
the flip flops. Yeah.
And there's something about a Minuteman right after that. It was like the next one. So I'm like, is this some kind of sexual theme they got going?
Now that is Bull Durham. That's the song.
See,
of Bull Durham.
that makes sense now that you say that. But so I think there's some question about some of this stuff. The show is so centered on realism and authenticity that I think the consumer base for this game, they generally take it very seriously. So I'm not sure. Most of the people in my stream last night thought they didn't really like this stuff and how it
ball players are superstitious
your
in real
ratings.
life.
What?
But ball players are superstitious.
Yeah.
And what was it like? Man, probably a while now. Remember when the Yankees, when guys would get into slumps, they were wearing the golden thong, not the shower slippers.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, there's stuff like that. I mean,
realism.
yeah, it does make sense. It's kind of fun. I'm just not sure how many baseball purists would look at it that way. But things like, we have a ritual handshake giving you a boost. I thought team chemistry, that can kind of you can make that argument there, but just applying to certain ratings and stuff, I think it's when it gets a little iffy. But as far as the equipment and stuff goes, I haven't applied any of that to my players yet, so we'll have to see how that goes.
TJ, same question for you. Have you dipped in the equipment? If so, what are your initial impressions on that?
Yeah, I also ripped a bunch of packs, and same thing Brian has to say. I haven't used any of the equipment yet because I haven't really dove into using that in Road to the Show. I think you can use it, or my created player in Diamond Dynasty. I have him set up, but I haven't brought him to the team yet. I haven't fed him enough players to make him a beast, though it looks like he'll be breaking into second base very shortly.
And Brian, you also discovered that all you need to do is go to work for about 3 days, and you too can get yourself a Hall of Famer. Is that right?
Yeah. For people watching or listening as the podcast, you won't see this, but I'm putting up a screen on the Hangout right now that shows this Brooks Robinson card you can buy, and this is like the marketplace for equipment, players for Diamond Dynasty. Everything else we were just talking about. This is where you can buy and sell those things. And the Brooks Robinson card, I was just flipping through, and I saw some that were pretty expensive, 100,000, 200,000 stubs. Here's Brooks Robinson in there for 925,000 stubs. So I went and I looked, how much would it cost you to buy that many stubs? And it was $50 for 75,000 stubs, I think it was. So it came out to $616 if you wanted to buy this Brooks Robinson card off the marketplace. Now I believe this is just a user set price,
right?
But still, it made me laugh anyway.
Yeah, unlike the Ultimate Team's EA Sports does, which is just kind of like an auction. This is more of like a stock market thing where you put like a buy price. Like if I say I want to buy Brooks Robinson for 50,000 coins if he ever comes up on the block. So anytime that one comes up for 50,000 coins, I will buy it. But like for that one, the guy is hoping that someone will pay $925,000 for it. But if you look in the sell now thing, I think that means someone is offering to buy one for 200 coins. But so yeah, I think those guys are actually going to be expensive, hard to pull, but we'll see.
Sumit Sarkar, you're a Road to the Show guy. You've talked about it quite a bit. What does the equipment mean to you? Have you outfitted your guy in some new cleats and gloves and bats and hats, or have you dabbled with that very much yet?
Just like I was saying, I've only redeemed the stuff that came with the Ultimate Edition. So like I said, I got I think a pair of Rawlings batting gloves, and also there was something else. I can't remember what it was. I think it was one of the ritual items. I'm pretty sure. So that all seems fine. I did just glance at the marketplace. I haven't had much of a chance to really see what prices are and things like that. But I think I have like I got a bunch of stuff. Do they still call them stubs? Whatever the currency is.
Yep, stubs.
Yeah, so I have like 12,000 some stubs or something like that. So that's like not really enough to buy like anything. So
it's 12,000 more than I got with my non-Ultimate Edition. I'm a love going to the GameStop.
$5 worth, I think it is.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's 10.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, there's that, and I have not tried Diamond Dynasty yet, but. Yeah, in terms of the stuff that's available, I'm totally cool with, because they have the licensed equipment for the 4 categories, like, what is it, bats, gloves, batting gloves, and cleats, right? I think those are the 4 and then they've got ritual, and so I'm cool with them having ritual as like, they're maybe bringing a little bit of levity to the experience, bringing in some sort of baseball's more kooky elements. So we'll see.
All right, so last topic for tonight, and remember, we're going to talk a whole lot more about a whole lot of other stuff. But online has been the giant elephant smashing through the room of MLB, the show, the franchise, for years. TJ and Brian, you touched it a little bit, touched on it a little bit. You played an online game. Tell us just overall, how easy was it to connect? What was the experience like? And what was it the laugh-a-thon that it was last year, or maybe not? Let's start with you, Brian.
Yeah, it went pretty smoothly. I mean, there were a few hitches especially when you're pitching, when the ball gets to the plate, and TJ pointed that out at first. But the game played pretty consistently. And the visual discrepancies depending on what side you were playing on. I think they may have cleaned those out for this year, which would be, I think, big, because every time something would happen, we'd end up asking each other, did you just see the same thing I saw? This is how the show was last year online, is that one person would see something, the other person would see something completely different. So that worked out pretty well, and we played. It was fairly responsive, and we didn't lag out, it didn't disconnect, so that was all positives for a first day. But then again, I see comments all over the place, social media, forums, emails to me, or notes in my stream, people talking about it, how online is a disaster. So I don't know if we just got lucky, or if maybe there is some hope for this year. It's just going to take a little while more to examine that.
TJ, what are your thoughts? Go ahead.
And unlike Brian, who thinks it works if you're able to not stream and play online, I must be streaming when I'm playing online, because if it doesn't work then it just doesn't work for me. So I was able to stream 2 online games today, and they both worked pretty smoothly. We did have, when you pitch, there's a little hitch as the ball crosses the plate, I guess to set up the contact or whatever's going to happen with the result of the pitch. And it looks like when you're hitting, it feels like the ball comes out slow, if that makes any sense to anybody. Like Brian hit a frozen rope down the third base line, and he's like, oh, I don't know how your third baseman didn't catch that. It looked like a one hopper right to him, but for me it looked like a solid hit right through.
Got it.
But yeah, it looked pretty good. We had one of those plays that we definitely had to make sure that it looked the same to both of us, where I think he was pitching and I had a guy on first base, and he threw a ball that went under his catcher, bounced off the brick wall to his pitcher, who then threw the ball into center field.
Yeah.
Last year, God knows what would have happened with that.
Right.
The catcher probably would have picked it up on his screen, and on my screen the pitcher gets it and throws it away. But
you would have kept rounding and went home, and I would have tagged you out on that. Yeah.
So far so good. I played a game against someone 2 towns over, and a game against someone across the world, or across the continental United States. So, but that was also during the day. I don't know how many people were on. Who knows if the servers were overloaded. They also have server maintenance coming up Wednesday morning, so look out for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least the initial anecdotal evidence from our group is much better than it was last year. So there's that. We're not exactly going to sit here and proclaim victory and that we think our online franchise is going to be amazing yet. But it sounds like there might be a smidgen of hope. Although, Brian, you're shaking your head.
Well, I tried to. You mentioned online franchise, and I tried to start one, and it won't start for me. So.
Yeah, we're gonna give that a go, or continue to try to give that a go. So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for tonight. This is our initial impressions. I really want to thank you, Brian, very much for coming on. Sumit and TJ, this has been a whole lot of fun. We will be right back here at the same time tomorrow night. We're going to very likely talk quite a bit more about Diamond Dynasty. Give us all another day to get into that a little bit more. I'm going to talk some more Road to the Show, get into that a little bit more. Also plan on dipping a little bit more into franchise. Again, it's only been a day between now and then, but we're going to definitely expand more on those. Have some more anecdotal conversations, talk a little bit more online. We're going to have Owen Good on with us tomorrow night, enemy of the show. So that he can bring his always interesting opinions. We may also try to get Kat Bailey on tomorrow night as well. But regardless, you'll have myself and Brian and TJ and probably Owen and Kat. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun. So look for that tomorrow night. And again, just before we go, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Sumit. Thank you, TJ, and thank you to everybody who is watching on the live Hangout, or who is listening to this on the Press Row podcast. Thank you as always. We really appreciate the support. If you got questions, comments, tweet them at us. We'll read them off tomorrow and perhaps Thursday as well, depending upon schedules. But this has been a whole lot of fun. One day in, and MLB 15 the show, and there's still a whole lot to talk about. I'm excited just to have the new game and to be able to talk about it with all my friends. This is great. So on behalf of Brian Weedi from Pasta Padre, Sumit Sarkar from Polygon, TJ Lowerman from That Sports Gamer, I'm Rich Grisham. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow night or in about 30 seconds. Cheers.